Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Views and News, and I'm Faisal Rahman live from our Islamabad studios. Today we'll be doing a program on the law and order situation in Pakistan, and especially the recent, number of terrorist attacks that have increased significantly during the last couple of months, and especially in the area of Balochistan. Bad news is that 11 coal miners were brutally killed yesterday, and unfortunately, few of them survived, but 11 were reported. But these were the people who were picked up by the Daesh or Islamic State members, and they were in particular asked about their identity, and those who were the people from the Hazara community or Shias in particular were targeted in particular, just to create more chaos in the region. Now today we'll be talking about some very important points. The first one is about the dossier that was presented by the Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi, as well as the DG ISPR Major General Babar Iftikhar. They unveiled a dossier containing irrefutable evidence of India's sponsorship of terrorism in Pakistan and called on the international community to take notice. Another very important area of discussion would be Pakistanis faced 1,930 terrorist attacks, 19,130. Just look at the number of attacks between 2001 and 2020, and suffered more than 83,000 casualties in the war against terrorism. The country also suffered monetary losses of at least $126 billion. This was stated by Shah Mahmood Qureshi, Foreign Minister. Another important area, the Indian intelligence agencies are patronizing banned outfits that are against Pakistan. Organizations like Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, Balochistan Liberation Army, and Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, they are involved in the terrorist activities, especially in the area of Balochistan. India is trying to form a link in Pakistan with ISIS by creating Daesh Pakistan. 30 of those militants were recently relocated from within India to Pakistan-Afghan border by the two intelligence officials. Now, talking about some tweets regarding this particular incident, the Prime Minister Imran Khan said that this condemnable killing of 11 innocent coal miners in Mach, Balochistan is yet another cowardly, inhumane act of terrorism. He said that have asked the FC to use all resources to apprehend these killers and bring them to justice. The families of the victims will not be left abandoned by the government. Talking about another tweet by the United Nations Geneva. Now, Geneva is about the Human Rights Convention. The UN chief strongly condemns the terrorist attacks and killings of at least 11 coal miners in Balochistan province of Pakistan. He trusts the Pakistani authorities will do everything possible to bring the perpetrators to its terrorist act to justice. Minister for Human Rights, Ms. Dr. Shireen Mazari, in fact, tweeted, and she said terrorists now target poor coal miners in Mach, murdering 11 and seriously wounding 4. India funded terrorists in Balochistan getting more desperate as development comes to province. Economical empowerment and insaf for the Baloch are how we will defeat the terrorists. And Dr. Arif Alvi, the president of Pakistan, tweeted, he said the killing of 11 coal miners in Mach is dirty and cowardly act. The state is committed to finding these heinous killers who must be flushed out, exposed from the underneath every slimy stone and snake pit, and be punished. Many souls of the innocent who lost their lives rest in peace. May they rest in peace. Very, very tragic incident. And this is not the first time. If you remember, 7 FC personnel were killed. Earlier than that, there was an attack on the convoy of another multinational, and so many FC personnel lost their life, more than 20. And on the same day, around 6 were killed in the province of KP as well. So you can well imagine these are very, very calculated attacks on the law enforcement agencies and now on the civilians as well. And these poor people were primarily working to look after their families on very low wages. And this particular act, I mean, we can't show you those visuals, which I have in fact, in which the bodies were being collected. And if you look at that place, I mean, these poor people, 6 or 7 of them, were sharing one single room. And just imagine how brutally they were killed. Now, this is something which we need to talk about, and we need to come up with some sort of a solution. And we also understand and we know the kind of Indian intelligence agencies' overall role in doing also. This is not the first time they've threatened us, but primarily this is exactly what they're up to. Now, to talk about this very important issue, let me introduce you to our guests. We have been joined in on Skype by Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi sir, and we'll also be joining in by Ahmed Qureshi Saab, senior journalist and analyst. And we have with us the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, right now. Shah Saab, Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Assalam.
Shah Saab, first of all, sir, a very, very tragic incident once again, really shattered us when we heard about those poor miners who were brutally killed in Mach area in Balochistan. Now, so we do understand that once you presented the dossier in November, you mentioned about all these activities. But, sir, how to bring an end to those? How to pick up these people who are committed to these kind of heinous crimes, sir? What is the plan the government has at the moment? So, your take.
To begin with, I share the grief of the families who have lost their near and dear ones. It is indeed a very tragic, horrific incident, barbaric incident. Innocent people making a living were killed in this horrific manner. Now, Pakistan and I, on the 14th of November, we presented a dossier. In that dossier, I presented irrefutable evidence of Indian sponsorship of terrorism in Pakistan. The idea is to destabilize Pakistan. The idea is to divert attention from the fast deteriorating situation within India. You've seen the situation in the illegally Indian-occupied Jammu and Kashmir. You have seen how the economy has been badly affected because of a knee-jerk reaction of the BJP government in Delhi. You've seen how minorities are protesting and feeling insecure. You've seen how farmers all over the country are agitating because of policies announced by the BJP government. Now, there is a serious internal situation and they want to divert attention. And the easiest target is Pakistan because they feel, this government in Delhi feels that by, warmongering, by giving, fanning nationalism, they can gel the divisions within their polity. And they carry out such activities, they finance people, they give them material support, and they use wherever space is available, they use that space to launch terrorist attacks against innocent Pakistanis. We have condemned that, we have exposed them, and we've also now learned from the EU Disinfo Lab that they have a number of fake NGOs. They have launched a number of fake NGOs, fake websites, close to 750 of them, to malign Pakistan, to build a narrative in the international community which suits them and paints Pakistan in a particular color. They have been exposed, and international public opinion is now changing, and they are being more critical of what's going on. Pakistan is playing a significant role in facilitating the peace process in Afghanistan, and there are elements, and I would not, it doesn't go past Indians to act as spoilers and such activities are promoted to create misgivings, to create misunderstandings. They want to also play on sectarianism, to create internal strife and confusion. So one is aware of that, and one is doing whatever one can to deal with such, activities.
Shah Mahmood Qureshi Sahab, since the Daesh, this group has claimed the responsibility. Normally, we used to hear about BLA, BLF, and so on and so forth. Now, sir, the presence of Daesh is a reality in Afghanistan. We used to do a lot of shows and we used to mention that this is reality, but after 4 or 5 years now, it is proven that they had a presence and that they seem to be very well organized. I'm sure they are being funded by the Indians, trained by them, supported by them, financed by them to make Pakistan, get into a position where we face problems. Now, have we spoken to the Afghan government, sir, or is there any proper plan to eliminate the presence of Daesh from Afghanistan, especially in the current scenario when the US administration is going to change as well?
Well, as you know, that we have always expressed our concerns on the growing footprint of Daesh in Afghanistan. Afghan government is aware of our concerns. They have been cooperative. We have in place a mechanism called APAPS, and we discuss issues of such nature and other issues, bilateral issues, through that mechanism. Pakistan has in the past and will in the future also take up concerns, whether they are Daesh related or using Afghan soil against Pakistan. We will raise them with our Afghan brothers and friends in a proper manner, not through media, but through this mechanism which we have put in place.
All right, Shah sir, thank you very much for your comments. Now, that was the Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, and he mentioned very categorically that they know who's behind these attacks, what exactly is brewing in the mind of Narendra Modi, and this is just to primarily divert the attention of the globe from what is happening inside India, whether in the form of right to self-determination in Kashmir, or you talk about the current problems of Sikh community, in particular all around Delhi, in Punjab, and other related areas, or you talk about the issues in Assam and elsewhere. So India has its own problems and economic problems, or you talk about the internal issues, maybe they are facing those as well. And when you look at the kind of problems they are having regarding COVID, but that is primarily, I fail to understand what exactly the Indians are up to. But if this is the way forward, then I think the global community should get into effect, and they should make sure that the Indians should be stopped from doing this. Now, since I earlier told you that we've been joined in by Lieutenant General Naeem Khalid Lodhi Saab, who's a senior defense and security analyst. General Saab, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much Ahmed Qureshi Saab, who is also a senior journalist joining us in our program. Thank you very much, Ahmed, for your presence as well. Now, let me put this first question to General Lodhi. Lodhi Saab, Balochistan has always been vulnerable. It's a huge province. The total area is believed to be around 134,000 square miles, and that's huge. Population is less, and unfortunately, this is the future of Pakistan in a way that when we talk about Gwadar and the related areas, and things are improving in Afghanistan as well as the relationship between Pakistan and Iran, it doesn't suit one country, and that is India. And we all know who is behind these and everything. But sir, targeting the hard targets, for example, going after the FC or the military personnel, we understand what exactly is happening in that particular regard. But the killing of these innocent people on the basis of their identities and in a very, very brutal way, and making, I mean, what exactly is going on, sir? And how long will this continue? Don't you think that this is the time that Pakistan should, go forward some sort of a proper decision and try to eliminate all these, sir, even by using brutal force against these terrorists? General Saab.
It is a sad incident, there is no doubt. And we also know that enemy always attacks your vulnerabilities. If there is any bleeding wound, they would like to, prick that again, and that is what has happened. So this time, it is not a sectarian attack. It is definitely a proper enemy attack, and they have also accepted it. ISIL or Daesh, they are not, from their name, they may look like, as religiously motivated groups. Actually, they are not. They are hardcore terrorist organizations sponsored by various, sponsors, and in this case, it is India. So once we are clear that who's the enemy, and once we are clear that what mechanism enemy is using, and they have said it openly without any hesitation that we have put aside so much of money for doing this, and this is what we will be doing, and they have said everything. So every time lamenting and complaining that this is what is happening to us, and telling the world that please see that what is happening to us. I mean, I am fed up of this. And saying that Pakistan is a soft target, why should Pakistan be a soft target? This is a question which I ask. So I totally agree with you that we have to respond, and respond in all possible ways to ensure that the enemy is deterred from doing all this. This is the sole purpose of the intelligence agencies and the armed forces, and the plans. But it is a matter of political decision. Some decision has to be given to the forces. That, for example, you are saying that we must go after them and try to hit at the source of all this trouble. I agree with you, but then it is not a military decision. It is a political decision. So, my brother, what are we expecting from the world? We have told them what is happening. They are convinced that it is being done by India, and we have so many, things coming from EU and from America, from the writings and from papers. They can't go beyond this. I mean, you have informed them, good enough. But if you think they will come and resolve your issues, especially your physical issues where you are being targeted, that is very sad.
Then,
What are you waiting for?
General Sahab,
I
how
don't
do we
know.
counter this situation then?
I always say that we have all the right to do to others whatever is being done to us.
Correct.
Now, after Bika, Indians have got this advantage that they have the geospatial information in very minute details what all is happening. So they are taking advantage of that. These recent attacks which you are saying, which you were talking about, I'm quite certain that Indians are taking advantage of the latest agreements that they have done with the Americans. They are using their satellites to make sure to know that where our forces are and where the target is moving and all that. So we need to create the same capacity, and it is not a big deal nowadays. You and me, we always use this, Google Maps to go from one street to another street. It's just a matter of upgrading it to the military thing, and we have Chinese friends. They have a lot of capabilities of this type. So we have to respond. We need to understand the nature of war. It is not a war of tanks and guns anymore, the
That's
big
correct, sir.
artillery guns. It is a war of this special kind, of media, of politics, of economy, and of this sort of operations. So we have to respond in the same way, respond fearlessly. Otherwise, we will keep on lamenting, we will keep on complaining, and this is no way for a nation to just keep weeping and crying that this is happening to us, what that is happening to us. I don't take that.
Now, General Saab, since you have been the Secretary of Defense, you have been the Minister of Defense, and you have served as a 3-star general in the military as well. So whatever you are saying makes a lot of sense. And obviously, sir, just by complaining, we haven't been able to get the desired results. I think there should be, a punch for a punch. That should be the way forward. Am I correct in saying so, sir?
Yes, 2 punches for a punch.
2 punches for a punch is even a better option. Now, coming to you, Ahmed, obviously, I'm sure you must have gone. This is not the first time that this has happened. It has been a regular feature, stopping the bus, taking the people out, looking at their identities, and then killing them, just to create chaos in that particular part. Pakistan has been able to defend its borders in a very, very decent way, sir, despite the fact that Pakistan went through a lot. During the last 20 years, the numbers are 83,000, sir. That's huge. You talk about $126 billion of loss as far as the economy is concerned. The kind of, scare that the kids used to have when they used to go to school after that very, very unfortunate incident of 16th December. And I can give you so many other examples, blasts in the markets. There was this element of fear prevailing everywhere. Now, Ahmed, the time has come now. I think enough of complaining, enough of cribbing, and as I totally 100% agree with General Lodi, that the time is there to teach them a lesson. And this is the time of fifth generation warfare, non-kinetic approach, use of soft target and use of smart approach as well. Your take, sir.
Exactly, Faisal. I completely agree with our former defense minister, General Naeem Lodi Saab, when he says that it should be two punches for a punch. I completely agree that we need to rethink our strategy. We can't simply sit and keep taking these hits. One of the key things that General Lodi just said, and it's very important to understand, when he said that this is not, it's clear to him, and he was very direct, that this is not a sectarian attack. This is an act of strategic relevance, and it needs to be responded to, not in the normal counter-terror ways and mechanisms, but in a wider rethink and review of how and where we can respond. So we need this rethink, and I think we're quite late in that. And let me just before I just explain this point, let me just also, Faisal, say that whenever we have these kind of acts, it's very easy to fall into this false belief that somehow Pakistan is a failure in anti-terrorism. No, we're not. Our record is far better than most of our neighbors, and it's also far better than many of the countries in the international community. So Pakistan is a success story for anti-terrorism. And incidents like this one, which will happen, no country can 100% stop these kind of terror attacks. But when these happen, we should not fall back into a false narrative that feeds the insecurity that somehow we are a failure. We are not a failure. We are a success. We managed to get over one of the most impossible, difficult terrorism situations that the world has seen. Many people thought that Pakistan will not be able to come out of it, and we did over the last 1 decade. So we are a success story. That's number one. Number two, let's understand this very clearly. There is no way that we will stop terrorism in Balochistan there's no way that we can understand terrorism in Balochistan without doing three things. Number one, we need to find a way to stop the movement of these terror groups, the proxy groups that use the borders between Pakistan and Afghanistan and Pakistan and Iran. This is an area of porous borders, and these borders need to be controlled. And also we need to work, as we are, with the governments of Afghanistan and with the government of Iran. We need to work on controlling, on containing, on eliminating these groups. But to do that, we have to deal with the elephant in the room, which is India. And we have to find a détente with India, a sort of a framework for coexistence. It's either we coexist or we go on into this proxy warfare where they hit us. And as General Naeem Lodi said, we can give two punches for a punch, and we can do that. Pakistan has the capability, Pakistan has the capacity, and Pakistan can do it, and everybody knows that Pakistan can do it. But we need to show it, and we worked with the government of Afghanistan very, very well to control. I won't say we eliminated, we ended the problem. We still have a problem, but we worked with the government of Afghanistan to control the use of Afghan soil and the movement of these groups inside Afghanistan. We need to do the same thing also with the government of Iran, which is also cooperating with Pakistan, is working with Pakistan. Both these governments in Kabul and Tehran are friendly, brotherly countries. Both are working with Pakistan. We need to work with both of them, but we also need to end the role of India using the soil of these countries against us. We need to work on that. We need to focus on it. With our brotherly countries, we can find a way to cooperate, And as far as India is concerned, we need to find a date on. Let's offer India, let's make a deal with India. Let's either find a framework for coexistence, and if they want proxy warfare, then we can give two punches for one, as General Lodi just said.
The interesting part is that, Ahmed, whenever we talk to the people sitting in the Foreign Office, I mean, this is a regular SOP that we hear that the Indian High Commissioner or the Deputy High Commissioner was summoned, or some senior officer was summoned, and then he was told about the facts, whether it is regarding the LOC violations or the killing of our soldiers on the borders or anything of this sort. Now, don't you think that this is the time that we should always tell them that this is what we have found, this is what we have done, and rather than having a reactive approach, we need to properly adopt a proactive approach and go after them. I totally agree with General Lodi that, you know, India, for unfortunate reasons, I mean, it's a very indecent neighbor that we have. We can't even trust them. They do not learn how to coexist. And why should we suffer in that regard? Ahmed.
Yes, exactly. I fully agree. And I think that it's becoming really, frankly, that we invite Indian diplomats to protest. And I think the world is also ready to listen to our version of the other side of India. And it's not, you know, it's a completely different environment. I am optimistic in the sense that as compared to 5 years ago, Faisal, you remember, it was impossible to speak about or say anything negative about India 5 years ago internationally. That has changed. We didn't change it. Prime Minister Narendra Modi changed that. And the world understands that India is a big country. It's a big market. We can do lots of business with India. But at the same time, the same world is beginning to speak and talk and cover the stories, the horror stories that come about the human rights situation, the situation of the minorities in India, what the Indian army. So both pieces of India are coming now into the open internationally. I don't think that we in Pakistan will find a better opportunity than we have right now. I'm afraid to say that although we're doing a very good work with putting together these dossiers about evidences of Indian involvement in terrorism and destabilization of Pakistan.
But they haven't been fruitful. I mean, we have been doing that for such a long time, Ahmed, you remember that. But unfortunately, since, you know, the kind of Indian influence that prevails on so many major countries like USA for that matter, UK, France, you know what is happening out there. They would always veto anything that goes against India. It's a huge market, we do understand, but money isn't everything. Now, General Saab, let me ask you this question, that when we talk about these banned outfits, for example, it's Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or BLA, BRA, or for that matter, Jamaatul Ahrar or Hizbul Ahrar, and now the presence of Daesh, ISIS in Afghanistan. One option is to inform the Afghan government to act against them, sir, the way the American used to put pressure on Pakistan to do more. Or, like, for example, Zalmay Khalilzad was in Pakistan, he met the army chief and other senior officials, and I'm sure he must have picked up the newspaper and this was the headline everywhere on every single English newspaper, and I'm sure he is very well aware of that. But sir, don't you think that this is the time to engage the Americans also and tell them that Afghan soil is being used against us, and the kind of concept, this hot pursuit, we can go after and engage those targets which are there inside the Afghan territory? Or is it going to create a problem, and as we say that the sovereignty of the neighboring country would be compromised? Your take, sir.
The first thing I think I must emphasize again that Foreign Office is doing a good job, and they can only go that much. You know, whatever they are doing, you know, about this folder and whatever they are telling the world, and that is their duty. A very clear political decision has to be taken at the highest order that what should we be doing in other fields. So what you said, you know, it's very clear that India is a strategic partner of America, and American interest we are also looking after in Afghanistan, and Indians are also doing a lot of atrocities in Kashmir. Now these things are all you know, linked and connected, And I always say, and let me say it again, Pakistan has failed to leverage its position in Afghanistan. Although the peace is also beneficial for us, and we would like to have a peaceful Afghanistan, but we have done a lot for Americans. We brought, Afghan Taliban on the table, and we are also doing a lot for intra-Afghan dialogue between the government and the Afghan Taliban. But we haven't received anything in return except for goodwill. So I think that is not enough. Pakistan should put its foot down. That okay, enough is enough. This is what we could do for you, and we are not doing it anymore unless you also do something for us. And we can ask them to do all these things which you are saying. And secondly, with a heavy heart, let me say that this statement that we have no favorites in Afghanistan. I mean, there are a number of entities in Afghanistan. There are some who have done nothing to us. There are others who are friendly towards us. There are others who are openly and they show animosity with us, and they show their links with RAW and such. So how can we say that we have no favorites? They have some of them. They have made us favorite or unfavorite. So this statement could be correct as far as diplomacy is concerned. It is diplomatically correct, but in real politics this doesn't work. And I think if Zalmay Khalil was here, I'm sure that Army Chief must have raised this point, because this was a very recent incident. But we must emphasize it to an extent that some measurable actions we can see, some pressure we can see coming from the American side also. Yes, we are a small country. Yes, we are much weaker as compared to these bigger countries, but it doesn't mean that we keep on giving them free services and we don't get anything in return. So I think we need to leverage our diplomacy. We need to leverage our position and do something about it. As far as talking to India is concerned, as Ahmed Qureshi Sahab was saying, the history tells us India only talks to you once they are in trouble. In 47, 48, the Kashmir was, whatever was happening in Kashmir, they went running to, in 65, once there was a stalemate, they wanted to talk to us. And whenever this Kashmir movement was at its peak, they wanted to talk to us. Now they are not in a position to talk to us because we have become too defensive. Let us be aggressive again. Let us create a stalemate. They will come running to you for talking. So you cannot beg them to talk to us. Our Prime Minister has done it a number of times. So we need to understand that when do the entities talk to each other? Either one side is defeated or there's a stalemate. So defeat we cannot each other because we are both nuclear powers. But yes, we can create a stalemate and stop becoming a good boy in the eyes of the world. They are doing a lot of harm to us, and we need to respond in the same coin, in the same bitter medicine.
I think this is a very wise approach. Now, sir, Afghanistan has been, a center of problem, unfortunately, for the entire region, sir. Whether you talk about the Soviet invasion or even prior to that, and then the regime of Taliban was there, and obviously Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and UAE were the first three countries to accept them. And later on, whatever happened, the American invasion after the 9/11 incident, and they are there. They might remain there. We understand the problems that the neighbors are facing. But General Saab, one important area, the Indians do know where to pinch us, but unfortunately we do also know where to pinch them and where to make them bleed. But we're not doing that. Don't you think this is the time that we always say that we'll give them the moral support? I'm talking about the Kashmiris, the diplomatic support, or you talk about the political support. Now, high time to support them in a way that they get some sort of an advantage over the presence of those million troops that are stationed in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Do you think, sir, high time now? Let's go for it. What would be the worst case scenario? Our soldiers are being killed on the borders. Our civilians are being targeted by the terrorists. I mean, how long will we suffer?
As Ahmed Qureshi Sahab was saying, I think this is an excellent situation for the Pakistan to exploit. Look at the beating that they got from Chinese, the beating that they got from us, and their problem in occupied Kashmir, their problem in mainland India. But there have been 2-3 arguments which are being forwarded, and let me give those arguments, and let me also give the counter argument. The first argument: We have tried this a number of times, so I think now we should try something else. This is argument number one.
All right.
And the counter argument is from my side that we have also tried diplomacy for the last 70 years, so let us stop any diplomatic virtues also. My dear friend, there are things which are tried once and it fails. There are things which you try 10 times and it fails. You change your strategy and you can keep on trying. You can, as we learned in our childhood that try again. But in a manner so that it is not the same mistakes, committing the same mistakes again. That is one. And second argument, we are so economically weak that probably we are not in a position to undertake any such thing, any reaction to that. Okay, my counter argument. A standing army means that you are provisioned, you are trained, you are self-sufficient for some time, and if the economy is the thing, then with the passage of time, as the economy keeps on growing weaker, your armed forces will keep on also growing weaker. So if the armed forces have some strength today, it is only they. And I'm not saying that we should go for open war. There are two nuclear countries. But those who are the planners, they understand what I'm saying. And you have also indicated, Ahmed Qureshi also understands, our viewers also understand what I'm hinting at, the indirect approach. So these excuses are lame excuses that we have tried this once, so let us not try it out many times, let us not try it again. And because of economy, we can't do it. Libya was a very rich country. Iraq was not, that poor country. Afghanistan was very poor. Yemen is very poor. What has happened there? People have fought back and they have redeemed their honor. So if you are an honorable nation, don't make such excuses, and then don't try to become a good boy in the eyes of the world. You have told the world what is being done to us. They will never come physically to your help. They will not even put any sanctions on India. You know it very well. So whatever you have done in diplomacy, it has just cleared the area for you, and it has cleared a level playing field for you. So please play it out now, and don't complain and always lamenting that this is what they are doing to us. I mean, it is just like this, that someone is slapping you and you are telling your neighbors that just come and see that he's slapping me. I mean, what is this? What is this way of reacting to a thing?
There has to be a more comprehensive approach. It has to be very
Yes.
meaningful, to the point, and right. Because exactly, sir, we have been informing the world, but nothing has been done in that regard. I totally, at least, sir, we have started doing something. And as earlier mentioned by Ahmed, that we always used to use this word that an external element is involved, as the Urdu word is Beruni Haath. But or the neighboring country is trying to do something wrong in Pakistan. Which neighboring country? We never used to take the name of India. And sir, you talk about whatever inside jobs the Indian RAW has done, whether you talk about this Mumbai attacks or you talk about other attacks in similar. They have made movies, they have made documentaries, and they have maligned Pakistan in that, and those are shown to the entire globe. What about us, sir? Our approach is very narrow, and it doesn't work on those grounds, sir. If you have to change the approach of the globe regarding that particular incident, sir, you have to be more aggressive. Aggressive doesn't mean that you should start fighting with everyone. It means that you need to adopt a proper, comprehensive approach, and that should yield results. That's exactly what the name of the game is. Now, Ahmed, tell us. Now, over here I was reading a tweet by the United Nations Geneva, and it says the UN chief strongly condemned the attack and killing of these 11 coal miners in Balochistan province, and he trusts the Pakistani authorities will do everything possible to bring the perpetrators to its terrorists. Now, if those characters are hiding in Afghanistan, or they are being sponsored by the Indians, they are being financed, I mean, you name it, and you'll find the Indians supporting such heinous crimes. I mean, this was just, a tweet, a very meaningless tweet, I would say, sir. Just, oh, Pakistan should do this. Again, Pakistan is being told to do something against them, sir. I mean, it's a very, very biased approach, isn't it?
Right. That's why I haven't seen that tweet. I'm not sure exactly in what context that tweet was made. So if you excuse me if I don't directly speak about that, but definitely what you're saying is right. If somebody says that we in Pakistan need to do something and do more, obviously this is not the time for it. And I think that approach internationally with Pakistan has failed. I don't think anybody in their sane minds, any policymaker would ask Pakistan to do more. I don't think we are the aggressor here. We are not. And just now, General Naeem Lodhi Saab gave amazing insights on how to deal with India, and those are very strong ideas that he presented. And I would like to just add something on specifically Balochistan, because we're talking in the backdrop of what happened yesterday in Balochistan, the massacre, 11 mine workers. And I would just submit that Balochistan will continue to be destabilized, mainly because of India, no question about that, but also to a large part also because of the continuing strategic competition over Afghanistan. And to me, General Saab, I will not focus too much on the US. I will focus more on India and Pakistan and Iran. These are three major countries in this region which are competing for influence in Afghanistan. I see the Americans leaving. I see the Americans going. I don't see the US having a lot of influence inside Afghanistan, minus maybe Kandahar to a certain extent, or Jalalabad and Kabul, and that's it. And Afghanistan is really not under US control or international forces control per se, and also the Afghan government is very weak. It is the competition between India and Pakistan and Iran which is destabilizing Afghanistan and our Balochistan. And of course, this is a huge subject. I'm not going to get into it, but as long as this competition continues, and regardless of the alliances and who's siding with who and what are the interests, Balochistan will be a victim, and Balochistan will be used. And we've seen that, for example, with the use of the massive use of the Afghan soil, what happened. And then, of course, we saw Pakistan engage with Afghanistan to contain that. And then again, we saw what happened with the Kulbushan Yadaf network. And I remind you that how that network was involved in sectarian attacks, both in Balochistan and also in Karachi. And this was one of their objectives, that they wanted to incite a sectarian war in that whole L-shaped area from Karachi to Gwadar to Quetta to Gilgit-Baltistan to Chinese border, so that the whole route of the CPEC goes up in plain. And they failed because we trusted the Indian terror network, the Kulbushan Yadaf network. But this network was working and operating, unfortunately, using our western borders. And we need to, and it's all because of the competition over Afghanistan. So it's a very complex topic. I don't claim that we can discuss all of it here, but the focus is that Balochistan will remain destabilized as long as Pakistan, India, Iran continue to compete over Afghanistan. And the crux is Afghanistan. Once we find a way to, I don't know, contain it or resolve it or do whatever, maybe then we can talk about stabilizing Balochistan, which is, by the way, I don't mean to say it's not stable. Balochistan is stable, but we will have these sporadic attacks that continue to remind us that there is a threat.
At the end of the day, Ahmed, these people do not come in from the Afghan border and this get inside Pakistan. These are the locals primarily who are a part of Daesh or BLA, BRA for that matter. But Jalal Sahab, last quick comment. I mean, as long as CPEC is there to look after the economic needs of Pakistan and for the entire region, I would say, sir, Ahmed seems to be very right that the situation in Balochistan would remain the same, but these kind of attacks would continue. Indians would keep on supporting terrorism out there as well. But there has to be a very comprehensive plan to sort of rebuttal or to give them an impression that, listen, if you'll do A, we will come up with another solution and we'll hit you back and maybe harder. Now, Jalal Sahab, last quick comment. Do you believe that even if there is some sort of a stable condition in Afghanistan, we see the withdrawal of a certain number of troops, new administration looking after the affairs. And obviously, you're very right that Bika and so on and so forth, when you look into those details, it seems that, you know, this strategic partnership between the Indians and the Americans, that is going to grow in the future as well, for various obvious reasons. But sir, looking at that kind of a scenario, don't you think that high time for Pakistan to sort of bring in the Chinese at the same level and, you know, also make them the stakeholders? Maybe that can help?
I mean, I would simply say that whatever Ahmed Qureshi Saab is saying, what you are saying, if I have to encapsulate all that, basically we have to work on a number of fronts. Socio-economic uplift of Balochistan, we must continue, that we are doing. We must continue our efforts in the diplomatic field. We must continue our effort in the political field, but also we must, shore up our efforts as far as media is concerned. We must shore up our efforts as far as the other things like psychological warfare and propaganda warfare, and also the military side. We must behave like a comprehensive nuclear power. Nuclear power doesn't mean that you only have nuclear bombs and that they just provide you a sort of, backup. You have to be good in many other things also. So technology is the answer. Finesse is the answer. Political, international politics, internal politics is the answer. Socio-economic uplift is the answer, and also military reply is the answer. A comprehensive thing, a hybrid response has to be given, and for that we need to have a headquarter which can handle such hybrid situations. Unfortunately, today we do not have that.
So we used to talk about NACTA, we used to talk about other institutions to look after the affairs. We had those 20-point agenda, but I think a lot more needs to be done. That's the basic, very basic primary level kind of an approach. I think we really need to master this art of, countering the fifth generation warfare. Jail Saab, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for your presence. And Ahmed Qureshi Saab, it's always great to have you on the show. Once again, thank you very much, gentlemen. That's all we have for this hour. I'll see you again, inshallah, tomorrow at 8. Till then, you take good care. Khuda Hafiz.